Welcome to this explainer. We're going to jump right in and do something a little bit different today, but honestly, it's profoundly important. We're diving into a mental exercise of pure visual deduction. We live in an era where our brains are just fundamentally adapting to this endless, relentless stream of visual noise. We are so bombarded by media that a lot of us are literally losing the biological habit of truly seeing what's right in front of us. So today, we're going to recalibrate that attention span by totally deconstructing a single isolated frame. This isn't just a visual exercise, it's a complete recalibration of how we process reality.
Seriously, how much can you actually learn from a single glance? Think about your usual fast-paced media habits. We scroll, we swipe, we double-tap, and boom, we move on in a fraction of a second. But when we do that, we almost always fall victim to what cognitive scientists call inattentional blindness. It's this wild phenomenon where you can look directly at a scene, yet completely fail to process the critical data staring right back at you, just because your mind is moving a little too fast. So what truth is hiding right there in plain sight, just waiting for someone to actually pay attention?
Okay, let's dive into this. Just look at the image in front of you. Take a couple of seconds and just let your eyes wander across it passively before we kick off the deep analysis. Just absorb the scene. It is quite literally a moment frozen in time, a single, static snapshot of reality, perfectly preserved for us to unpack. Let's start with our first section, the art of observation. We are moving from passive looking to active seeing.
Think about how fast we consume images every day. It's instant. But right now, let's consciously hit the brakes. Let's decode the actual facts without making any assumptions. Human psychology is so fascinating here, right? Our brains naturally want to create narrative shortcuts, heuristics, just to save energy. When we see a photo, we are neurologically wired to immediately invent an unverified backstory. We want to ask, who is this guy? What's he thinking about? Where is he going? But today, we are actively fighting our own neurology. We're practicing strict factual deduction. We only care about what we can prove with our own two eyes.
Let's revisit that initial impression. At first glance, this is just a man by a river. If you were scrolling past this on your feed, that is the quick one-sentence summary your brain would generate before swiping away. Your brain might even take it a step further, right? It might assume he's fishing, or maybe he's lost, or maybe he's just taking a break on a hike. But those are stories, not data. I promise you, there is an absolute wealth of specific, factual data to extract from this exact moment if we just strip away the storytelling and know how to look.
Moving into Phase 2, profiling the subject. We are sticking strictly to the observable facts. We're going to use a photographer's trick here and deliberately crop our mental focus. We are ignoring the river, the sky, the trees, everything else, just for a second. We're treating this like a real investigation. Starting near the top, we clearly have a male figure, facing right in complete profile. Scanning down, he's wearing a light green short-sleeved shirt, which meets a pair of loose-fitting gray pants. Down at the ground, we've got dark-colored sandals. Finally, bringing our focus up to his hands, we can see he is holding a flat, red, disc-like object. That isn't a narrative. That is raw, undeniable data. This is how you systematically read a visual document. Now keep those facts in mind. I want to guide your eyes directly back to the man's left hand. Look at that distinct, red, disc-like object. This is literally a perfect example of color theory at play in the real world. Notice how aggressively that specific red hue contrasts with the soft green of his shirt and all the natural earth tones around him. Red and green are complementary colors, right? They sit totally opposite each other on the color wheel. That red object practically hijacks your optic nerve because it so sharply breaks the natural color palette of the environment. Let's look at his posture to understand his relationship to the space. He stands completely stationary on the grassy bank, looking out over the water, grounded right in the immediate foreground. Let's unpack the biomechanics of that stance for a second. Notice the stillness. There's zero blur of motion to indicate walking or turning. His shoulders are dropped and relaxed, his arms are just resting casually at his sides, and his grip on that red object looks loose, not clenched at all. He's not bracing for action. His physical tension is entirely neutral. That relaxed posture, combined with his outward gaze, heavily anchors our attention and naturally pulls our own eyes outward toward the expanse of the river.
All right, Section 3, reading the environment. Let's find out exactly what the surroundings tell us as we zoom out.
Now, what's really interesting about this scene, what is truly striking about this landscape, is how clearly it displays stark visual differences between the different zones of the environment. Look at the dividing lines in nature itself. The frame is practically split horizontally by the distinct textures and colors of the earth versus the water.
Let's break that juxtaposition down.
On one side, you have the land. It's vibrant, lush green grass, highly textured leafy weeds right at his feet, and a dense, intricate line of tall canopy trees on the opposite bank. It feels alive, heavily detailed. Contrast that with the other side, the water. It's this opaque, muddy, brown surface that totally dominates the midground. It's thick, visually sluggish, and completely monochromatic compared to the vibrant edges of the land. Filmmakers and classic landscape painters actually use this exact kind of horizontal division all the time, layering heavy, solid textures right against vibrant ones to create a deep sense of scale and psychological grounding.
Let's play detective for a minute, because it's brilliant how much we can deduce just from ambient conditions, using them like a natural compass. Look at the clues from light and shadow. We've got distinct shadows cast by the foreground vegetation directly onto the grass. And because those shadows fall sharply toward the bottom left of our frame, the geometry tells us exactly where our light source is. The sun is positioned high, behind, and to the right of the camera. Plus, we know for sure it's a bright, partly cloudy day because the bright sky and white clouds are vividly reflected right there in that brown water. Finally, the even, consistent lighting on the opposite tree line confirms a wide, natural daylight setting, totally unobstructed by heavy overcast.
I want you to specifically zero in on the smooth surface of the water right now. It's pretty remarkable how, despite being super opaque and muddy brown, the surface tension acts almost perfectly like a mirror. It is seamlessly reflecting both the fluffy white clouds above and the green foliage on the far back. We walk past puddles and rivers every single day without ever noticing natural optical illusions like this. But this is exactly what active seeing unlocks, finding complex data and even surprising beauty right there in the muddy water.
Finally, Section 4, Synthesizing the Scene. It's time to bring all these facts together.
So the crucial point is this: breaking complex visual inputs down into isolated variables, forcing ourselves to look at just the shirt, just the shadows, just the water tension, is an absolute superpower for critical thinking. It helps us see the full picture so much more clearly when we finally zoom back out. The convergence of the subject and his environment isn't just a passive glance anymore. It is a meticulously mapped territory of observable facts.
And here is the payoff. Here is a remarkably clear, verified statement of visual truth. A man in green and gray stands on a lush bank beside a murky brown river holding a red object under a bright, reflective sky. Contrast that incredibly factual, highly accurate sentence against the wild guesses and stories our brains wanted to invent back at the very beginning of this exercise. Notice there are absolutely no assumptions here. No guesses about his mood, no guesses about his destination. It is so grounding to rely on reality built from the ground up by actively seeing, rather than getting lost in the noise of passive assumptions.
But to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocation. Photography is the art of exclusion just as much as it is the art of inclusion. We've completely mastered what is inside these four borders today, but based on the sharp lighting, the calm outward gaze of our subject, and the layout of the riverbank we just analyzed, what lies just outside the frame? What unseen reality is occurring literally inches beyond the edge of this photograph? It's a great reminder that even when we observe perfectly, there is always more to the story waiting to be discovered. Keep actively seeing, keep questioning the frame, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.